Here we are with Mr. Stephen Seear from BDO, Head of Advisory and a valuation partner in his own right. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us.
Pleasure.
So, look, a couple of questions, obviously, just in terms of market observations that you're seeing at the moment. So I'll probably throw it over to you just to give us a little bit of an introduction and insight into Stephen Seear and your speciality in the market.
Thanks, Chris. As you said, partner in charge of advisory in Melbourne and also lead the corporate finance team. So that's where I spend most of my time on the corporate finance team, specifically focusing on valuations, particularly infrastructure valuations, and as well as expert witness and financial model assurance services. So when it comes to the partner in charge of advisory role, it covers a much wider area. So I guess my observations on views on current market conditions, I'll touch on both of those. So overall, I actually think market conditions are quite good. I think coming on the other side of the Christmas break, like many other people, sort of reflecting on the year that was, and certainly the last 6 months that was, and really resetting expectations this time. It's probably come, I would say, 4 or 5 months much earlier than what I'd expected, really resetting expectations. And the reason for that is the market is much better than what we had anticipated it probably would be when we were setting expectations for FY21. But having said that, certainly there was a lot of uncertainty in and around May, June in 2020. But I think we've all got much better clarity now. Conditions are much better understood, and so quite optimistic about the next year ahead.
Brilliant. And obviously BDO, publicly is, I think, the fastest growing mid-tier over the last 2 years, which is, credit to you guys in leadership, and links in obviously to your growth overseeing the advisory arms. And in terms of the core valuations market that you specialised in, what are your view on the sort of current market conditions there and where you're seeing a bit of opportunity, if anything?
Yeah, valuations was probably the hardest hit of the corporate finance areas during COVID. The initial experience was a lot of jobs were paused. To some extent, valuations is a discretionary spend in some cases, and that's the discretionary spend side of things that was the hardest hit. And there was certainly, I think, because of the concerns and uncertainty, there was a little bit of panic around pricing. So I think there was a little bit of race to the bottom in terms of some of the price discounting that we were seeing. But volume and activity was actually a lot more resilient than what we expected, and activity is even rebounding a little bit better from there. So relative to other corporate finance areas, and I think the positioning of BDO in the market in the spaces we play, the transaction side of things has been phenomenal. It's been the growth there has been wonderful, certainly carried by some really capable people in Mark Chavello and the team around him in BDO in Melbourne, but also the M&A side of things, Tony Chavello, with some deals getting across, really that side of the market, that part of the market has really stood up and carried through, and it's got a lot of momentum going through at the moment.
And in terms of your core focus and Martin, your true IC there, where or how do you see the market developing over the sort of next 6 to 12 months in that core valuations market?
Again, it's some of the court-driven valuation work is starting to open up. Again, I keep reflecting back on the last 6-12 months, that a lot of that came to a grinding halt with the slowdown in courts and the activity there, but certainly some of that is reoccurring. We're involved in some expert reports now. Infrastructure valuations, which has been a real cornerstone of a lot of the work of what I've done for many years, and Martin is now doing as well, but which I see no signs of that abating. The funds and fund managers are constantly on search for more assets. We're doing a lot of work with many of the Australian funds as well as international funds. It will continue to be a real source of activity, I would say. And the other part of the economy that really showed no signs of slowing down, if anything, it's actually has been the real star in a lot of our overall practices growth is the compliance area. So when it comes to valuations, a lot of valuations are compliance driven, be it for accounting or tax reasons, and that has certainly been quite strong, quite resilient, and is really starting to pick up as well. Has certainly returned a little bit after the initial panic has gone. I think people have realised they're still quite busy. There's still a lot of demand for the services and a lot of demand for good quality operators, so that side of it is looking quite good as well.
Yeah, good, absolutely, and I'd agree. Actually, I think from our perspective, supporting BDO as well as some of the top four and other mid-market and advisory firms, as you know, we've certainly seen an increase from mid-January now in the demand for valuations people and transaction services. A little bit less so on the M&A side, but certainly very engaged on the valuations market across Melbourne and Sydney at the moment. If anything, there's probably a skill shortage at the moment, but probably to do with that lack of international travel as well and interstate movement and so on. So very good to hear. And in terms of, I suppose, linking this to Genius People brand, we've worked together a long time now, and the respect I've got for you, and we certainly pride ourselves on finding people's genius, as we call it, in that alignment of passions and interests and alignment of values of the leaders. How would you, putting you on the spot a little bit, how would you describe what your genius is, Steve, and really where you get your fulfillment as a leader and as an operator in that valuations market?
It is a difficult question, but I don't mind it. BDO has done a really terrific program on our values and understanding our culture, and it does make you navel gaze a little bit and think about the kind of person you are and the kind of place that you want to work. And we have 5 values, but the way I like to think of myself and why I think BDO is the perfect place for me and many other people that are there at the moment is that it's a really quality organisation, but there's no ego about it. I think that's my genius, and that's where I'm most comfortable. I love doing good quality work with good quality clients, and I love working with yourself. And business is so much easier working with people that understand your culture and your ambition. And for that reason, I know you've been a wonderful advocate for myself and BDO in the market, and a big reason behind the fastest growing division in the fastest growing firm. So I'm very proud of that, but I think you should be very proud of your contribution to that as well.
Well, it's almost a shameless plug there, Steve, but I'll take it. Thank you very much. And I'd echo that as well. I think for us, the key messages we take to market is that humility of the partnership group and quality coming out top 4, for example, and, multiple partners that we've put in there that are highly engaged and very, very strong culture there. So, appreciate the kind words and appreciate your insights today. Well, that is Market Observations with Mr. Stephen Seear from BDO. So thank you very much for your time, Stephen.
Thanks, Chris. Not a problem.
No worries. Take care.